Hello! Before we dive into another episode, I've got an exciting announcement. For those of you that don't know, Monday the 13th to Sunday the 19th of May is Mental Health Awareness Week. As part of this, I'm excited to say that You Talk Too Much is partnering with the incredible charity Industry Minds. Industry Minds are a UK award-winning and industry-leading mental health charity for the creative arts. Founded in 2018, the charity focuses on providing low-cost and free mental health support to everyone in the creative arts industry. They also provide support seminars on productions across the UK and the US. I am delighted to be partnering with Industry Minds for Mental Health Awareness Week. And if you need any more information or would like to donate, please head to the link in the show notes. Hello and welcome to You Talk Too Much, the podcast where I turn my incessant chatter into a platform for insightful conversation. Today I am joined by the wonderful Emma McCormack. Emma is the co-owner and co-principal of Popcorn Musical Theatre Workshops. This is also a very special episode because Emma is actually my wife. So Emma, thank you for finally agreeing to come on the show.
Surprise.
How are you today?
I'm good. I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's all right.
Not that you had a choice.
I know. We didn't have a choice. We did discuss it for a long time. But we had a lovely drive to the studio today.
We did.
And like all couples, argued our way through it.
Yep.
Because I was like, you can't stop here. But we're here now.
Yep.
So let's start, as you know, at the very beginning. Where did...
Place to start.
You're the only person that's done that.
So stagey.
I'm sure that everyone's thought it. You're the only person that's done that. God, this is going to be a long one. Anyway, let's start at the beginning. Where did it all begin for you?
That's a great question. And I feel like that's a really difficult one to answer. I've listened to all of these episodes and I feel like everyone goes, oh, okay. Well, I feel like it started when I was a kid and I can't really pinpoint where my love of theatre started. But like all kids, I went to local drama groups, then I did my singing lessons, I did my dance classes, and I fell in love with it. I was a little bit, for a little while, she won't mind me saying this because we're best friends now, but for a little while, in my sister's shadow a little bit because she always had something that she was brilliant at. She was a swimmer, as you know. We make fun of her about it now. But she was a swimmer. And I was also a swimmer, but was not as good as her. And I feel like I hadn't really found my thing yet. And when I started going to all of these classes, dance classes, singing classes, all of that stuff, I really found my thing. And that was when I started to really find myself, which was nice. So I started going to all of that, completely fell in love with it, decided from, I think, my second class that I was going to go to drama school.
So how old were you then?
How old was I when I decided I wanted to go to drama school?
Yeah.
10.
I suppose where you're from, were you aware of Guildford at the time?
No, I wasn't.
Really?
No, so I grew up in Surrey, so I grew up just outside of Guildford, so I went to GSA Saturday School, right, as you know. So I was always really aware of GSA. But at the time, no, I wasn't.
So between going to Saturday school and being 10, you were doing Amdram productions.
Yeah.
Just musical theatre classes and stuff.
Yeah.
So when did you get the knowledge of finding out about what a foundation course was or a Saturday school?
I had the most brilliant teacher at Saturday school. So I found out about Saturday school because one of my friends went. Who said, you should come along. And we kind of moved from my musical theatre classes that we were doing over to GSA Saturday School, where I met some of my best friends in the world. And there was, at the time, a couple that ran it. They were called Sam and Andy. I'm sure people listening who also went to school will remember them. They were amazing. Sam ran Saturday School and Andy ran the foundation at the time. And I was at Saturday School the whole time up until I was auditioning for drama school when I was 18. So from the ages of, I guess 13, 14, I went there up until I was 18. And then I was auditioning. I didn't get in my first year. I got onto a reserve list and then didn't get in.
For the foundation course or for the
drama
degree?
School?
Yeah, cool.
For degree courses, yeah. And yeah, I didn't get in. It was the end of the world, obviously, because when you're 18, it is the end of the world. And I was gutted and I didn't really know what to do because that was the whole plan. The whole plan was to get through college and go to drama school. That was the entire goal. Because I'd got far and I'd gotten to reserve lists and I was really close to getting in, I was like, what do I do now? And Andy, who I still believe I owe so much more to, he kind of said to me, he was my singing teacher at the time, he coached me through my drama school auditions and did coach me through all of my drama school auditions. He said to me, well, why don't you come along on audition for the foundation course? And I couldn't afford it at the time. I just couldn't afford it. I didn't have the money. My parents, they were saving to send me to drama school, but a foundation was never on the cards. And it was kind of a case of, you can go and do the foundation, but then we don't know if we're going to have enough money to be able to support you through drama school. And I was like, well, that's the goal. So I just couldn't afford it. And he gave me a scholarship onto the foundation course. And I did my year at GSA on the foundation course.
So when I was like, I've always found foundation courses very interesting. So when you start the foundation course, am I right in saying that some run in parallel to the first year of the drama
Yeah,
course?
mine did.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's the same training. It probably is because it's foundation. First year is the foundation of the 3 years. But when you were in the foundation course, like what kind of opportunities were different from doing the foundation to then the degree course?
We did all of our dance classes with the degree course. So all of our dance training was with the degree course, which was nice because it meant we got to know them and we kind of saw what they were doing. But because GSA is a BA Hons, if I'm right in saying that's right, isn't it?
Yeah, BA Hons, yeah.
Because they were, so it's slightly more academic, but because we had a little bit more freedom, ours wasn't, it was a foundation, but I wasn't getting any.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I don't think it was even a diploma. I don't think I got any actual qualification from that. I could be wrong. I didn't really pay much attention. But it wasn't so strict in what you had to do. Yeah. So the first years were doing a lot more sort of academic stuff. Yeah. And obviously the training there is still incredible, but we had a lot more freedom to kind of do like our audition classes and our acting through song classes and all of that stuff, which the first years absolutely did get, but none of ours was with them for that.
Your goal in a foundation, well, not everyone's goal to be fair, but your goal specifically was to go from foundation into that
onto
first
drama school.
year.
And yeah, the goal is different. And obviously when you're on a foundation, the bulk of drama school auditions happen in like November to March. Yeah. Depending on when you audition. I think the majority of mine happened in January.
I was going to say, I thought mine was like January, February time. Yeah. But then if you're taking into consideration nowadays, like first rounds, recalls, all these things.
Exactly,
so yeah, it probably is.
So I think I had a few before Christmas. The majority were just after Christmas. But that's only a term, right? Yeah. So you have to kind of squash a lot of the actual learning into that first term in order to prepare people. Because the reason people go to foundation courses is to get them into drama school. Yeah. So you have to cram a lot. And then after that, then it's the more holistic, actual skills that you're learning. Yeah. And I'm still friends with a couple of people from my foundation, and we always joke that I love where I actually did end up training, but I always joke that was the best year of training because it was just so free, and it was where I learnt the most about myself and who I wanted to be. Which
is important. And I think when you hear all these things of drama schools, even now, I talk like I went to drama school years ago, which I did.
You did.
Well, I did. I think we discovered it's about 10. It'll be
10 years since you started, isn't it? No.
Well, it's dead. It's 10 years since it started. Yeah. Which isn't a long time if you actually think about it. It really isn't. 10 years is not a long time.
In the grand scheme of life.
But anyway, not about me. What we what I think is interesting is that even now, 10 years down the line, people still go into drama school and feel. Don't want to say robotic. It's not what I mean, but feel kind of like this is where you're coming to this school and this is what we produce and this is great. However, I think more and more drama schools are promoting individuality and self work, not work, self work.
I think specifically when we went, or maybe I just felt this when I was auditioning, but I think specifically when we went, I felt like what school I went to was going to define what kind of work I did.
100%. And I think it still does have an element in it, but it's not a case of if you go to A, you will be on regional tours guaranteed. Mm-hmm. You know, it's or you will be a swing, you will be, it's not like that. You will be a lead. I think there is elements of that, but I don't think that's down to the individual school now. I think it's actually it comes down to the individual and personal brand and all these things that go with it.
But I also felt as well there was a big pressure that like any school you got into, you should go. And I think that was a big learning thing for me because, you know, I got into a school on my foundation year.
Yeah, and I was going to bring this up actually, which is interesting. It's come naturally.
Yeah. And I think they're a great school. And I don't want to name them because I don't, you know.
Yeah, we don't need to. I don't think we should name anything.
No.
Yeah.
And I think they're brilliant, and I think the people that go there are incredible, and they, you know, they work. But something about it, I don't know to this day what it was, but something about it didn't feel right. So I didn't go. And everyone, including my amazing teacher on the foundation course and all of my friends and everyone, my parents, everyone was like, what are you doing? Why are you not going there? And I just went, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. I didn't want to go. It didn't feel like the right place for me.
Yeah.
And I think that now looking at my life in hindsight and looking at what drama school actually taught me versus what I thought it was going to teach me, and now like where my life has ended up, I think that something in the universe was guiding me to go to the particular school I went to, because it was going to teach me the life skills to create my own work and be an individual and do all this stuff that I'm now doing.
I think the choice you made, I mean, we've spoken about this at length, because this choice you made is really interesting, because when you talk about people, teachers, never mind family, no dissing to family and friends, because like they'll support you regardless of whatever you do in the end, right? You'd like to think. But like when it comes to teachers and stuff going, oh, you should. I remember when I was auditioning for drama school, my teachers, one of the biggest things they said to us and drilled into us was that you're auditioning in the drama school, right?
Yeah.
And like, you might go somewhere, it might be quote unquote the best training you'll ever receive in this country. You might go there and actually detest every single part of it.
Yeah,
the
and
building,
that's not right
the
for
facilities, the area, everything about it. I didn't have an experience like that, but the fact that you did that, were you aware of that when you were auditioning?
Yes and no, because I kind of like, I feel like you go into every audition, especially for drama school auditions, and you kind of go, oh, like it's a bit nerve-wracking, and you're trying to suss out the people and the place, and as you say, the training and everything that's going on. And it's such a whirlwind that I kind of was like aware that it wasn't my favorite audition that I'd done, but it was only when I received the acceptance that I was like, do you know when you know that trick when someone flips a coin and then it tells you what you actually want, because it's like if you're upset by the answer, then you actually want the other thing.
Yeah.
It was that.
Right, yeah.
And I got it and I wasn't excited. And then something inside of me went, well, I'm going to have to go because I've got in. And everyone's going to think I'm crazy if I don't.
Yeah.
And actually it took a lot for me to actually go, do you know what? No, I'm not going to do that.
I think I don't think you hear enough of that, because I won't name her, but I had a girl in my year who, I'm not saying she got into drama school and then didn't want to go and then went. Her thing was, from my understanding of the whole thing, was she didn't get into where she really wanted to go. And I think she wanted to give herself another chance. Mm-hmm. So we were actually in halls together, and she confided in me and said, I'm going to audition for this school again. And I went, fine, yeah. Why?
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, you were already at the best place.
Yeah.
Because that's where I wanted to be.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
But then when she broke it down why, I went, that makes sense. So then she went through that whole process again, got in the next time, and went to that school. So she left our drama school. And at the time, I remember going, that is nuts. Because they were completely different, like, I say opposite schools. In a way.
They kind of are.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
This is the worst podcast in the sense we're talking in such
it's
riddles.
like riddles.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they were opposite. People know where I went, so you can pick about a number that are different to where we went.
Yeah.
And but I commend her for it, because it's your career. You've got to know what's going right for you, and it's 3 years. Again, we've said 10 years isn't a long time. 3 years isn't a long time, but it's a significant amount of time to really not be enjoying yourself.
Yeah, and I think it's that thing now, right, that we're saying about, I don't think there's enough of people taking ownership of that. And it's like now moving onward, now that I, have started a business, all of that stuff, it's about picking a life that works for you. And when you're a kid, there's so many outside pressures of like making the right decision and making the right choice for you. And can my family afford that place? Am I going to get a scholarship? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really nice to see people just like taking ownership, and that there is a world, there's an alternative reality where I turned down going to that school. I didn't get in the following year to anywhere else, and I ended up not going, and it was the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
I was really lucky that it worked out the way it did, and I took a risk on myself that way. But I think you kind of got to take risks on yourself in this life, don't you? Otherwise, what's the point?
I mean, we've spoke about it at length as well. The more you risk, sometimes the more reward.
Yeah, and it can sometimes not work.
Of course,
sure,
of course, but it wouldn't be a risk otherwise.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's so true.
Like it's like if we could just chump and change, I think the world, people do that now to an extent, and it is crazy. But then also people discover things and like find like what you've done, which we will get on to. But for now, you basically said no to that drama school on this journey that is life.
Yes.
You then took a year out.
Yeah.
Had a gap year.
I had a gap year. I did. I actually did. Went to Thailand, lived my best life, got horrendously burnt.
Yeah.
Yeah, worked in a theatre, worked in a creche.
In that year, was your focus still drama school?
Yeah.
So everything you were doing had that focus.
I worked in a creche, in a gym, and the creche started. I can't even remember, but the creche started maybe 7. So I'd get up at 5, go to the gym at the creche, then I'd have a shower or whatever, go and do my shift at the creche until I think it was 2, go home.
We should the creche was at a health club. It wasn't a creche that there was a gym attached to for the employees of the creche.
No, that would be cool. That's a good business idea.
Why is that not a thing?
Yeah.
But it was a health club.
It was a well-known health club. And
I mean, you can name it if you want. It's not a bad thing. We're just talking in so much riddles.
PR. I worked at David Lloyd.
Yeah. Yeah. There it is. For years I thought it was Bannatyne's.
No, sorry, David Lloyd. Finish my shift at the creche, go home, wash the baby sick off me, go do a shift at the theatre, and then do it all again the next day.
Repeat.
Yeah.
And it's mad when you think and you did have your holiday, your month away, and you're all that stuff, which was great.
So that was after I got into drama school. So
it was a celebration, essentially.
Yeah.
See, we don't know everything. There we are. I thought it was before.
No.
There we are.
No, so I did, because obviously then I finished my foundation in July, had a panic because I didn't have anything to do again. Got these jobs, went to worked, was going to singing lessons, dance classes, going to the gym literally every day, working to get in, and then did all my auditions, got into where I wanted to go. Knew immediately. That's what I think it's so funny about life.
So you auditioned that January then, the following January.
Yeah. Knew immediately when I auditioned at RCS that's where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
Got in by some magic miracle.
Let's talk about that then. Right. So comparing school A, comparing the feelings you had on school A and B, being RCS. What were the green flags when you arrived at RCS? What were the differences? And I'm not talking about going, oh, this school did that and this school didn't do it. I'm talking within you, within Emma, what were the feelings that you got? What were the butterflies you got? What were all these things that happened that made you go, this is the place for me and I need to come here?
It was the way that they directed me and the way that they worked with me that I was like, that's interesting. What I love about RCS is that they always encouraged us to figure it out for ourselves and to be a person first. I feel like in so much of this industry that we're in that, is amazing in so many ways, it can be so regimented and so, sing a topsy, do a triple pirouette and you'll get that job. But it was the way they spoke to me about my pieces. and actually like encouraged me to make decisions about it and just be my own person and just like just figure it out.
Yeah.
And I loved that. I'd never had that in an audition where someone asked me what I thought about a piece and asked for my opinion and why I made the choices to do it that way. And that was so much like what I was doing in my acting classes with my monologue teacher, with my singing teacher. That was so much what I was doing, was together as a team making choices about my pieces. And then I'd take them into an audition and people would just redirect me in a totally different way just to see if I could take direction. Whereas like they actually worked with me on it.
And I've always found that hard about drama. I find drama school auditions, I would love to sit on a panel.
Yes, I would.
Or not even a panel. I'd love to be a fly on the wall for two things. One, to see what they discuss after.
I did in first year though. Did you know that?
You did?
Yeah. When I was in first year, I sat in on the final recourse for the new intake.
That's cool.
And it was so cool.
But it's hearing what they say.
Yeah.
Like, we should say that at that point in finals, they aren't criticising, really.
Well, I feel like they're never criticising, though. I feel
they want to support you.
And I think as well, with where we went, because our year was so small, it wasn't ever about, are they talented? Because at the end of the day, if you've made it to the final round, you're talented.
Yeah.
Everyone auditioning for drama school probably has some element of talent because you wouldn't have been supported to get there if you didn't. And I think that what they were saying was so much more about, oh, well, we've got this person that fits really nicely, and or I really liked the way they did that, and then this class would really benefit them. Like, we had some very niche classes at RCS, so this class would benefit them. Or, do you know what I mean? It was so much more about how the training is going to aid them.
This is what I'm saying. It's like, I'd love to be a fly on the wall, because it's like, we're only speaking from what our knowledge is, of which was RCS. Like, that's we can talk about our experience there, right? I'm not saying about any other drama school not being like this, but I'm 99% sure that it'll be things like, this person A is a great XY, but needs to work on Z, you know?
Yes.
And then like, but how can we provide that for them? Is that the best thing for us?
Exactly, yeah.
And then the second thing I want to be a part of is the decision making at the very end of, once they've seen everyone, once they've done that, of how they build the year group. Because that's another thing that comes into the audition, especially for a place like RCS, which had a small year group. They try and build a company. And I want to know,
if you're listening,
if anyone is listening from any drama school hierarchy, I want to know if the third year shows are ever taken into consideration in first year. Because it would blow my mind if it wasn't even like, I'm not talking like the final 3 or 4 shows, whatever you do, 5 shows. I'm talking like, we could do this pool of 10 shows.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're creating companies. And I know some schools have like larger years, so they get split in like, one half does that show and one half does that show, and it's to their skill base and yada, yada. But surely there has to be thought there. Because what if that person that comes into that audition room completely changes their skill set?
Yeah.
Which can happen.
Yeah. And it's so hard as well, right? Because like, you could have a pool of 18 people, and like, you could end up in a drama school show that you're never going to be in a
which
in
is
a
nice
professional.
though.
It's really nice.
I mean, I was one of the. Jeez.
But it's so hard, isn't it? Because I mean, that's great learning, I suppose, as an actor, to then be like, okay, well, how do I make this work? How do I figure this out?
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's an interesting little the drama school. What was it they called it? The pie? No, the cake.
What?
The drama school cake. That's what we always got told. Like, if you wanted, like, we used to always ask for like X amount of classes or new class, or do we need to do this? And they would explain it. They would go,
yeah.
There's no room in the cake. Was it cake?
I don't know. I've not heard that.
I'm sure it was cake. Anyway,
we'll call it cake. We'll
call it cake because it is like a big cake,
yeah.
right? And it's like making enough room for certain things. So like, I remember my year, and this like, my year, we still laugh at it now. We were like, when we were at drama school, every single musical, to an extent, had one major tap number.
Oh, the tap
obviously,
gate.
when you're at drama school, you're like, and especially a drama school that doesn't necessarily produce like dancers. There's schools that go out there and do that. We were all like, well, I'm never going to be on what's out now, the Shrek National Tour, if I can't tap, because everyone taps and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. So we were fighting. Those 3 weeks were the worst 3 weeks of my life, because I realised quickly that I cannot isolate any part of my ankle in any way, and I shuffle and all that. No, it's not for me. But we then
We tried.
we got the classes, and then went, actually, can we not have them anymore? And to be fair to the school, they were like, no, you wanted them, you can have them now.
To be fair,
And
it's like a petulant child, isn't it? You
it
asked for it.
But it became quite a fun class because it became more about rhythm rather than tap.
Yeah.
And like that was, we managed to adapt it, which is good. But
what, like, to your point about the cake, this analogy we found, I think it's interesting because the reason why we possibly didn't have the tap classes at RCS is because you have all of these other incredible classes that about like, I remember in first year we had all of these external workshops with people coming in, teaching us how to like make stuff or produce stuff or whatever. And I think we spoke about this a couple of days ago when during those classes, I felt terrible about myself because I was working with people in my year who are incredibly talented at writing songs or at producing work or at, writing musicals or whatever it is that they're all now doing and doing brilliantly. And I felt like, I'm not talented enough to do this. I can't write music. This is pointless for me. What am I doing here? And actually what those classes have taught me, which I didn't realise at the time, is making your own work within the performing arts industry doesn't have to be writing a show. It doesn't have to be producing a cabaret or whatever, which are all incredible things.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be that. And it took me, I think, until maybe like year 2 of the business to be like, oh.
That's what that meant.
Yeah. I'm doing that. Those skills they taught me, I'm doing those things. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's interesting, we all say this, hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
And I've discussed on this before that I actually think it was, with Laura, the guest just before you, that
Love Laura.
Yeah, that we were discussing the fact that like there's moments in like rehearsal rooms or in shows that I think maybe it's just me, maybe I just coasted through drama school and then now going, oh, that's what that meant.
No, I'm the same.
But I think people,
I'm the same. But I say it to the kids now as well when I'm teaching them.
When we're talking drama school, I'm hopeful that a lot of any university students, whether you did, I don't know, physics or something like that, you kind of like, maybe you're in a coding job now and you're like sitting there going,
that's why I was learning
it's
that.
like penny drop moments.
Yeah,
and I think that's really special actually. Like people and so you've segued beautifully.
Listen.
Wow.
I'm good at what I do.
You have. No, you have segued wonderfully. I'm going to say that one.
That's a better one. Well done.
Thank you. Into popcorn.
Yes.
So just to fast track, we graduate from RCS.
Yeah.
You're in the industry.
Yep.
For a year, 2 years.
Yeah, I think I figured out.
In fact, it might have been longer because we hit COVID, didn't we?
There's COVID in the middle there, yeah. I think it's so silly, after like literally spending, what's that? Like 10 to 15 years of my life knowing that I wanted to go to drama school, knowing that that's what I was going to do, knowing that, that was the route. I was going to go do, all of my classes. I was going to get into drama school. I was going to go to drama school and then I was going to be in the industry. I was going to get an agent and I was going to work. That was the route. And I graduated, with my agent and everything. We moved to London. It's all great. And I figured out pretty quickly that actually I didn't like it.
What was that, like from auditioning and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Or just general, like the hustle and lifestyle?
I think a bit of both. I actually figured out possibly the reason why I didn't struggle to get into drama school, but, I didn't, had a couple of years where some people get in first time. It's because I actually don't audition very well because I get so nervous.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've seen it a couple of times when I've done like pushed myself to try and do like cabarets and stuff, and I just get so nervous about it.
Yeah.
And I love performing, and as soon as I get into a character and get onto a stage or whatever it is, I'm golden, I'm fine. But I don't audition very well because I just get so stressed. And I think that was a big part of it, and that was taking a huge toll on me, was just the auditioning lifestyle. And I think I'd gone through a bit of a shift with like body image and stuff during drama school, and I was really struggling with that when we graduated because, trying to keep on top of how many jobs did I have? Like 17.
Yeah.
Like, and so,
Maybe a little bit less than 17.
yeah, but you know what I mean.
I think it was 4.
Yeah. But trying to keep on top of all of those jobs, trying to make sure you can pay your rent, and then get to the gym and
but
eat
also
well and
enjoy life.
Like you're 20 something living in London.
London, yeah.
You know, living with
2 of your best mates.
Yeah, literally living with my boyfriend and my 2 best friends now. But you know what I mean? Like, I think, like, it was just, I found it really difficult.
Yeah.
And I think it was only like later that I've admitted that I found it really difficult. I think at the time it was like, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to, you know, this is what I've always wanted to do. So this is what I'm going to do. And I just found auditioning really hard. I wasn't, like, I was getting some really nice, amazing auditions. I was getting some auditions that I wasn't passionate about, which, you know, is part of the job, I guess. And yeah, just the whole hustle lifestyle, like, I don't know. I think I found it difficult to leave a job and then come back after I'd, you know, I had built up a really nice client base, for example, of singing lessons, and then I'd leave for a job and then come back and then they've gone, yeah. And you have to build up again. But then at the same time, you're still auditioning, so you're still acutely aware that you could also go away again. But also, you could not work for another 2 years. So, like,
it's fascinating now because we'll touch on COVID in a second because I think there was a massive shift there for you. But the thing that I think is fascinating about COVID is that what you've just said there about leaving singing clients, for example, acting clients, whatever, one-to-one students, let's call them, to go into a job. The wonderful thing about COVID is, like, COVID was a wonderful thing. No, it wasn't. It was a dreadful time. No, the wonderful thing about what happened during lockdowns and stuff was the populace discovery of Zoom, of Teams, of this like technology that now means that, like, I'm not sure it does happen, but because people are busy. But I wouldn't be surprised if people that are on, I don't know, like the Hamilton tour just now
are still teaching.
On their maybe like they're on tour, but like let's say they've got a tech day like an India on a Tuesday, then they're there for 4 weeks. So on those 4 weeks, every Thursday they don't have a matinee. They teach 4 lessons, and it's like a bit of extra cash. And it wouldn't surprise me. But then again, you've then got to find the clients that want to have online stuff. And a very good friend of ours, who hopefully will come on the show, but she will name this just now, discovered that it's roughly at the same time with technology.
Yeah, for sure.
So to go back into that, when you're coming from when you think you want to be this person of performing, you did a performing job.
Yeah.
Then came back. Were you deflated from leaving that performing job, or did you? Well, you know the job I'm talking about. But we don't need to go into it. But like, that was the shift for you, wasn't it? Yeah.
I hated that job. I'm not afraid to say it. I think it was just I was working with people that I didn't necessarily gel with, which is fine. You know, that's never gonna
happens.
Yeah. And it really shifted for me because I was away from home and away from everything I'd kind of like built up, and it was just pre-COVID, wasn't it? It would be like the autumn winter
kind of shift.
And I just didn't enjoy it, and I just thought to myself, like, this is the part of the job that you're supposed to love, and you're not having a nice time. And it could have just been the job, it could have, but I think what's happened since then, I don't think it was just the job. I think it just, the lifestyle just wasn't for me. And I think that's only something you can learn when you do it. And it was never something I was going to learn from drama school. It was never something that I was going to, you know, figure out unless I actually tried it and did it. The struggle I found the most was because then through COVID, I kind of made that shift and made that decision kind of in my head.
But about 80% of the decision.
But I kept my agent and I kept auditioning because, and we've spoken about this loads of times, there's this thing that, and it comes from it comes from basically people that aren't in the industry, and that is no disrespect or shade. It's just because, you know, it's this like glorified thing. And, you know, I always say, if I was a plumber and then wanted to become a teacher, no one would bat an eye. They'd say, okay, great, you're retraining, you know, you're changing your job, that's great. You weren't enjoying your job and you're moving on. But there's this thing when you're a performer of, oh, but that's what you've wanted since you were 10.
Yeah.
Keep going, keep trying. And I listened to that for a really long time. But then it took another performing job that I did get, and then I went away after we'd started the business. And I hated being away from it. It's like being away from a child. I hated being away from it, and I hated leaving it. And it just wasn't for me. And it took that job for me to go, okay.
And what I admire about that is that job, the next job after the rubbish job, the next one. You actually really enjoyed the job.
Yeah, I did.
You had a great time.
Yeah,
You gelled more. Like,
yeah, for sure.
It was nice. Maybe that was part of to do with the fact that COVID had just completed. I don't know if that...
It was still kind of like there.
It was like when we were in that lockdown that wasn't lockdown, but it was.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Yeah.
We all know it well. And I remember us having a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And I remember having the feeling of... Because I think all performers or creatives, anyone who listens to the show... We all go through a moment of, what am I doing? Why did I not just go and do something, quote unquote, normal? Why did I pick this as a career? I've got no money. I can't go on holiday because if I get a holiday, I will get a job. So that'll be another waste of X amount of thousands of pounds. All this stuff that goes through our heads. But I'm a victim of that. I keep going back. It's like this, like... We've discussed it before in the show. It's this drive and passion that is there, but there's a very good percentage of people that find that passion elsewhere.
And I think that's
the thing. What happened.
Yeah, and it's that amazing speech that David Tennant did, right? Was it at your graduation?
It was the same day. It wasn't my ceremony, but it was. Yes, it was. It was.
Not bitter about it at all.
We had a great. We had Matthew Bourne at our one.
Yeah, you did.
So actually, it was great as well.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah. But he said, didn't he? He said, if you can do anything else, do that.
Yeah, and it's actually stuck with me as well.
Yeah, because it's hard. It's so hard. And I think I just fell into this. I mean, we'll talk about how I fell into it because I really did fall. Yeah. Kind of on my arse a little bit. But I think that I now really listen to that. And I think, he's so right because... I still love performing, hence why I haven't completely exited the industry. But now I watch a show, I can go and see a West End show, any kind of show, and I think, do you know what? There it actually isn't any part of me that wishes I was doing that because I know all of the other stuff that I felt doing all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And it's like with what David Tennant said, I remember watching it because it was like, I think it was either the ceremony before or after. I can't remember. But we were all watching it because it was David Tennant. We're like, this is cool. Because he was in the building. He was hanging about all day with us.
Yeah.
I remember watching it and listening to what he said and not understanding it.
Yeah.
And going,
because you just graduated and you're
but it's not even that. It's that, like, I've discussed it before with lots of people that I was quite young as well, like when I left. And I was like, but what that's not inspirational. If you could tell me that 5 years ago, I'd go, that is spot on. Having done the industry for like 5 years at that point or whatever it was. Like, it's a small time in the industry, but I know exactly what you mean now. It's having that hustle mentality. It's having that, it's okay to work in a cafe. It's okay to go and work as a teacher's assistant. It's okay to get a salaried position and subsidise your living costs with a salaried position and then addition. And then, I mean, someone said to me, like, I might get shot for this, but you can always leave a job, right?
Yeah.
You can always leave a job.
Yeah.
My dad left a job.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
like
so true.
people, it happens. Do it.
So true.
Like,
and life happens,
And your analogy of career changing is so true. It's like this, like, I think it's because it comes from a support network where people have seen what you've worked, what we've described. People have seen you at your lowest of lows and your highest of highs. And now you're in the low of lows again and you're like, not always, maybe, it comes across like you're in the lows and they're like, oh, but don't give up this. It's that thing. And sometimes that's great. Sometimes that is the nudge you need. But then sometimes you're not in the lows. Like you were really at a high point in your life when you went, I don't want to go and do an audition.
It felt liberating to me. When I started, I remember the last audition I did. And I remember walking out of that going, I am never going to an audition again.
It's crazy.
And I felt liberated in that moment because I was done. I was finished. I didn't want to do it. And there was no part of me that felt sad about that.
Yeah.
And that is, I love the industry. You heard at the beginning, I'm so stagey. I love it.
Yeah.
But there's no part of me that wants to actually do it because that isn't for me. It's for so many other people.
Yeah.
but it isn't for me.
Yeah.
And how great is that?
Yeah. We've teased enough about it, but let's talk all things popcorn musical theatre workshops. Now, this might be a learning curve for me because this is usually the time we have our business meetings. So a lot might come up here that I don't know about. No, let's just do like a quick whirlwind on how you came to be the owner of Popcorn. Just a quick, where about till we started. So from lockdown to from when we started.
Yeah. So it came about because when I was living in London pre-COVID, so we moved out of London during COVID, like in the first week of lockdown or something.
It was the weekend before, and then it was like, oh God, we're stuck. And then actually,
So when I was still in London, I was working for a lovely woman who owned Popcorn at the time. It was just like a little independent. They were running like one class a week or something. She also had a party business, but she was amazing. I really loved working for her. And then obviously everything shut because of COVID. I moved out of London, so I sent her a message, because obviously everything shut so quickly. I sent her a message and I was like, look, we've moved out of London. I don't know if we're going to come back. Like, keep me in the loop with what's going on. But I don't know if when you open back up, I'm going to be there, basically. And then I remember I was lying on a sun lounger in my mum and dad's back garden during lockdown because it was glorious weather. And I got this email from her who basically said that, over COVID, she's decided that she doesn't want to run the business anymore. COVID's been too much. She was a little bit older. She had 2 like teenage girls. So she was like, I'm going to try something new. I don't want this anymore. Would you like to buy it from me? I had no knowledge of what it took to run a business. I had exactly zero financial knowledge or knowledge on, what I even needed to run a business, especially a business taking care of children. Like there's so much that you need to make sure that they're safe and make sure they're looked after properly and all of that stuff. But I had always taught the classes. So I was like, I know I'm good at that. So I was like, okay. And, she was amazing. She was so flexible because I said, I don't have a large lump sum of money. We've just moved out of London. It's lockdown. We'd had no job.
Yeah.
I don't have a large sum of money to give you to buy this. And she said, give me X amount. And then when you start making profit, you can pay me back X amount per month. In what world would you get that business opportunity again?
Yeah.
Never, exactly never. So I was like, okay, well, I'd be really stupid not to do this. So a lot of people don't know that, but that's how I kind of got it. And that's how it got its name as well.
Yeah, and the first thing that you did, because it was completely different branding and everything, and the first thing you wanted to do was make it, she actually suggested you make it your own.
Yeah. So I had to keep the name. Well, I didn't have to, but I wanted to keep the name because part of what I was buying was like the reputation that she'd built up already. And I bought like the Facebook page which had reviews on it, and I thought, if I change the name of that, then all the reviews are going to say a different name, and then
it was like a stepping block. Rather than starting on step 1, you were like on 1.5.
Exactly. So yeah, I made it my own. We changed all the logo, the branding, everything with an amazing graphic designer, and we launched. And I kind of did some crash courses in like, what I had to have and all of the businessy stuff that I now legalities exactly that I now know about.
Yeah.
And yeah, I kind of just started, and it was kind of like a shot in the dark. We were like, well, let's just start it. We opened a waiting list, started advertising. We got a fair few people on the waiting list, which I was surprised about, but I think a lot of that is to do with people were looking for stuff to do in COVID. So we were due to start in January 2021. That's right, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So we were sort of advertising November, December 2020. And then obviously a second lockdown happened in January 2021. So we weren't able to start. And I was not going to start a new business on Zoom. That was a non-negotiable. I was not going to do that. So we pushed it back to April. We opened in April. We opened with, correct me if I'm wrong on these numbers, but what we opened with, was it 8 minis, 7 minis?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Now we know this next number.
And four juniors. Yeah. And it took a really long time to build up that juniors class, didn't it?
Yeah, it was a bizarre thing in the sense that, I don't mind saying this, that the minis was kind of like a happy coincidence for us. We had always, when you purchased When the popcorn buy option came about, we were discussing, you had taught a lot of like baby sensory stuff, and you thought about doing like launching your own little, not baby sensory.
Yeah, we hadn't really talked about a possible baby sensory class.
We'd thought about doing some form of like imagination class for babies and mums and dads and parents alike. And there was something in the back of my head that I said to you, what about the toddlers? Because there is lots of toddler classes, but we discovered that for the style of stuff we were doing, imagination play and creative play, there wasn't a lot for like this like pre-reception early key stage 1, I guess.
It's that 3 to 5
that we could
age group that actually there's mother or parents and
grandparents, anyone.
adult and grown up, as we call them, grown up and child class that they go to together.
But there wasn't an opportunity for the child to be them
independent. And I think that's a huge part of what I feel really passionate about, is making sure the kids can have a space, especially when they're that little, but I mean, it carries through all the way through our classes, but children having a space that they can feel independent and get to know their creativity and get to know their imagination and get to know what makes them in an individual class. And I think that's really important from 3, which is when we start, even from earlier, but we can't start any earlier with them being independent because it's just not possible. But I think it's really important because, you know, learning how to be independent is an important skill.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of kids, especially after COVID, and I think this is why our minis class has been so popular the whole time, a lot of kids, and through no fault of anyone, any person looking after them, a lot of kids did miss out on that really important step of being independent because they just spent so much time at home.
Take it away from the kids' perspective. I remember struggling, even though I worked across the road. We were very lucky to moved in with your mum and dad. I worked literally across the road, and I rushed home because I was like, we can go and sit in the garden and be with people and be with family and like. I think, speaking from ourselves here, we had a relatively good lockdown experience, and
it could have been a lot worse.
Could have been a lot worse, but we were very lucky with that in the sense that we had our family there. Sadly, my mum and dad were up in Scotland, but I think they were glad I was locked down here and not pestering them. But like, I think even like the parents want that separation as well. So that's kind of how the minis class became about. And actually, it kind of shocked us because we actually, I remember we found the numbers last year. We were like, we'll get 10 juniors and then we'll have like 4 minis, and that'll be nice, like a little toddler class. It was the opposite.
The minis
swing.
Have always just been the most popular service that we offer. And even then, when we started offering like the workshop days, I was a bit skeptical about that because I was like, are any parents going to want to send their 3-year-old to a whole day workshop? Yeah. They do.
The thing that you and any parents listening from our classes that I want to say on behalf of the parents, that I think the thing that you do very well is that you're very open about what you want popcorn to be, which is not about finding this next star. It's not about finding like your child will get this opportunity to perform here and there and there. The opportunity is in these classes, and it is a safe space for them to learn, to grow, to be creative, to be confident, and to take those skills from as young as 3, right up and through reception, right into primary school, right through primary school, right into high school, into college, use the skills of drama for interviewing, public speaking, all of these things. And I think you champion that, 100%. Which is what has helped.
But I think it's so important because I was a really shy child. Really shy, to the point where like my parents used to get so annoyed at me because I wouldn't go if I couldn't find something in a shop. I wouldn't go and ask someone. I wouldn't ever answer the phone.
Up until 2 years ago, you wouldn't phone anyone.
Up until I started the business, I really struggled on the phone. My anxiety levels have always been very high, starting at childhood. I wouldn't like. My mum tells a story of when we were away on holiday, and my sister has always been life and soul, and I remember her getting up and doing like a karaoke thing on holiday, and I wouldn't do it. I would not do it. And there's a picture of me on holiday. Someone picked me up and put me up on stage, and I was bawling. Like, I was a shy child, and I think that's where a lot of my audition anxiety came from, because I still am like a little bit anxious around new people, and you know, I get nervous and uncomfortable with people who don't know me really well. As soon as you get to know me, I'm wild, but not wild, but
Confident.
you know, yes. But I think my acting classes, my singing classes were, you know, that transition between primary school and high school is a big one. Yeah. And I see it in our students. We've had a few of them just recently go to secondary school, and they've then gone up into our seniors class. They didn't struggle with going to high school, really.
It's a fascinating little. We've been very lucky to have seen it from the ground up and seen those journeys of those kids, and long may it continue. Essentially, yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, and we've also been very blessed with some incredible parents and some incredible kids, like
and incredible staff
as well.
That have taken
100%.
on our little mantra.
Oh, and you know, they don't have to trust us. You know, that some of these people, they work for really big companies within, you know, our competitors. They don't have to trust us. They don't have to trust our little company, but they do. They come in and they, you know, they work just as hard as they would for any other company.
I think we need to give Euan a shout out in a sense, he's a legend, and I know it's even with this, he's been supporting me.
100%, yeah. And we've been really blessed, really blessed with some amazing people.
He's taken on everything that we're about, and he's really championed.
And he deals with our madness as well. Like just yesterday, I sent him like 17 different costume options for the summer show, and was like, pick your favourite. And it was Sunday night. You know, he hasn't replied, thank God. Yeah. I always tell him, don't reply, you know, until you've got a moment to. But you know, I think we've been really blessed with just. I feel very lucky. That's how I feel about it. We've worked incredibly hard, and I've done everything I possibly can to make it as successful as it possibly can be. Yeah. And you know, I'm not taking credit away from myself. I do work really hard, but I also feel incredibly lucky. It could have gone the other way, because we've had some incredible, amazing, supportive families who've been with us from either from day one, or they've joined us and they've just run with it. You know, some incredible support from just the local community, and some incredible teachers that work with us as well. So.
Yeah, and we aren't going to talk much about it, but we are excited for what is to come for the rest of the year.
Yes.
So on that, for people who want to continue the conversation with AU or following Popcorn, have you got any where we can come find Popcorn or yourself?
Yes. So we will hopefully be in and around London from September. So do come and follow us on our socials. So our social is Popcorn Theatre Workshops. Find us on Instagram. I'm not going to give my personal Instagram because my personal Instagram is very boring. But yeah, come and follow us on socials. And yeah, we're in Woking in Surrey at the moment, but we're going to be in London for the rest of the year, hopefully from September. So do come and follow us. And yeah, come and chat to me if you want to know more.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, you know I have two questions.
Oh, yes.
So, here we go. This is well illuminating. There we go. No, the first question is, I want you to give Emma of 10, 15 years ago one bit of advice. What's that?
I think, honestly, just to chill out a little bit, because I think that I've always been the kind of person where everything is very urgent and everything is very, like, what's the right word? Everything is a stress and like something I'm a good problem solver, but I have to have the like panic about it first. As Euan's looking at me like, yes, I know.
There's no comment coming out of my mouth, but yes.
And I think, especially when I was younger, like I was very like against a lot of injustice if I felt like injustice was being done. And I think I just picked a lot of fights that just are so unnecessary. Like I have learned in my old age to just be on my path, and just to like what other people think about me or what other people are doing or whatever. It's none of my business. It's none of my business.
Yeah.
You know, what so-and-so that I met that one time thinks about me, literally none of my business.
Yeah.
And I think that I wish that 18-year-old Emma knew that, because I think that's really important for her to know.
Yeah. And then to flip that on its head, what would you like to see, ask, advise, want to know 10, 15 years in the future? Maybe it's about popcorn, maybe it's about you personally. It's a very ambiguous question.
Yeah, so I think that's a hard one. Because I'm genuinely really happy with where I am now and like where the direction of life is going. So I just hope that where my direction of life is going continues, and I hope that like 15 years from now I can look back on this conversation and be like, yeah, I was on the right path there.
Yeah, that's nice to think. Thank you very much. We
Thanks
managed
for having me.
We've managed.
I was nervous
essentially
about this one.
58 minutes, and I haven't really interrupted you.
Do you know? I was thinking that's very good.
For those who know me, that's
yeah.
Thank you for coming on.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, the listener and the viewer, for watching. I've got a challenge for you this week. I'm going to challenge you all. I want you, if wherever you watch or listen to the show, I would really appreciate you take a screenshot, anything like that, share that link, and tag me in it on Instagram at _Euan Bennet. That's EUANBENNE singular T. Tag me in it. I'd love to see where you're watching it. If you're getting those morning steps in, if you're at work, procrastinating, if you're doing monthly check-ins as a personal trainer, whatever you may be doing on a bus, I'd love to see it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Emma.
Promo, baby.
Yeah, we'll see you again soon.